Alrighty, my friends, welcome back. It is Thursday, and well, Inside Star Citizen is here. But let's take a moment to talk about this. By the way, look, another piece of furniture has shown up. Slowly, this place is coming together. It feels good. Feels good. All right, let's take a look at what is going on with Star Citizen's coverage. I made a video about this earlier, I think this week or last week. You can check this out. I'll link it in the description below, but you can see over the course of this year that Star Citizen's content slowed down a lot in terms of the news that they're putting out. And you can even see further when it comes to their weekly shows, which is generally Inside Star Citizen and Star Citizen Live. They've started to split them up into different things. So we've got these behind the ships videos coming out, which are always around 3 to 4 minutes. We got one here, another one here, and one here. Actually, this is a trailer. So they've been doing those quite a bit, and those take up a whole week slot, which we're not getting a sprint report or any feature content or anything like that. Then they have these dev diaries, which is what we're about to watch. And those are like 9 minutes or so, and they're more a focus on the process and the team going on, which is something that they used to do in Inside Star Citizen, but now they're giving an official name. And again, that takes up a week where we do see kind of stuff that's going on, but it's not feature development. Regular Inside Star Citizen has been all content focused as well, so we're just not seeing feature development in these this year. And you know what? I'm interested in seeing why we're going back to hair. Maybe it's Tisha Pacheco, because she was she really never got her hair, did she? Let's see what they have to say about hair.
This was unintended. That's the first thing I must say. My career took a curve. I was a lead character artist at another company. One of the things that scared me the most at that time was hair, because it is one of the hardest tasks. And I just tackled it so well, I guess, that I started to get praise for it. Praise in a way that I never got as a character artist. And that's how it went. I never planned to be a digital hairdresser of any sort.
Not really something that people grow up and say they want to do.
I've been in love with Star Citizen since ever. It's been actually my dream for all along. When I started learning character art, this is what I wanted to work. When I started here, one of the things people were making fun of me, former colleagues were like, "Oh great, Andre, you just signed a contract to make hair for a game. Everyone wears a helmet." And that made me think.
See, this is the guy that people are literally like, why does he work there? Fire him if he's working on hair. Hair doesn't matter. And it's like, well, honestly, some people are probably commenting that down below literally right now. Hair is, I mean, it's just like the face and the rest of the character. At some point, it does matter, because it's weird to have a game where hair doesn't exist. And like, if hair is going to exist, you might as well make it customizable and look decent in today's age.
Sure, nowadays I'm proud to log into Star Citizen and just see that a lot of people is now wearing their hairs and not the helmets.
It is
When I
also
got
nice
here,
to see
the first thing was
different
to
hair.
Try not to scrap everything that was made. Obviously, there was a lot of things that were properly made that just wouldn't fit for every purpose that we wanted. The first hair I created took me a bit of time. The first results were kind of disappointing. I was still learning the tools, learning the process, learning the new engine that we use. But after like 3 weeks, I managed to create one hair. We finally took it to a meeting. My first time.
One strand of hair.
I'm in front of CR. I actually made sure I read everything that CR has written about hair that was on our register, so I knew what he wanted. I think that was kind of smart, because it had an impact on him immediately. The next morning after that meeting, I wake up with a message on our creative chat saying something, how happy he was that we had finally someone that was tackling hair in the way that he wanted. I'm like,
let me take you guys back real quick to how long ago they were working on this. I think it's gonna be, oh God, I don't know what it would be called, but let's see if this pulls anything up. There we go. Depth of character. March 2019, my friends. And listen to this.
Pacheco as a character has a little bit of a richer past, where she's gone through some hardships.
A former operative in Blackjack Security, and she got
probably one of the coolest mission givers in the game. given her backstory, her setup, where she is in the game, and also the missions she give. They're pretty cool, but like most given mission givers, she's a little not all there right now. So I do think that this year they're going to fix them up, and I bet you that she's going to get her hair, and she's going to have a really good mission chain for people to take if they're leaning towards the less lawful side of the law.
Horrible accident, causing her to suffer some nerve damage. She was ultimately let go, and she had some animosity towards Blackjack Security because of that.
But she tries to hide that. She doesn't want to put that down. She still wants to kind of be herself, be this badass that she's always been as a soldier. And we wanted to communicate that through her costume, allow some personality through some of her other elements.
Pacheco was heavily inspired by Blade Runner and also a lot of the 80s.
All right, talk about her hair.
It gives her personality and makes her stand out, and it feels like it fits her to begin with. But also, we wanted to make sure that we were able to do that with our new hair tech.
I wanted to look special.
With our new hair tech. Oh.
And I wanted to not give her just a regular plain.
See, like they needed to have hair tech for this, but they didn't have anybody who was like good enough to do it at the time, I guess.
Jane type of hair.
I know it wasn't a priority. It wasn't like super important. So it wasn't like they wanted to peel somebody off other things that were as more important at that time in development. Now we see hair getting worked on because content is more important. They're not working on the engine as much. So we're seeing that. And they also got somebody hired, but it's just like, did you guys have somebody back then who could have done this? Or were you just kind of like, yeah, you know, hair?
I wanted her to have a little bit of possibly hidden culture. And she looks badass, man.
So since this is all very work in progress with our hair pipeline, and we're trying to finalize that now, if it's not completed for 3.5, we're not going to let that stop us for the release of Pacheco in 3.5. So I hope that when players see Pacheco and that they're excited and that they get to see a new style, a new type of character.
If it's not completed for like it was close, she still doesn't have her hair. All right, anyways, thank you, dude, for probably making it a reality at this point.
All right, okay. We're on the right path, I thought. During this process, Ian actually told me, okay, Andre, what do you need to make this work for both Squadron 42 and Star Citizen? And I'm like, he wanted to have 70 hairs from February till December so that we can do the first chapters of Squadron 42. Doing my maths really fast, if I was to do it myself, it would take like 2 years.
Because let's be honest, Squadron 42 is why it really matters. That's also a thing, is like, we get hair tech in Star Citizen because they needed it for Squadron. We're eating seconds as we do.
Even if I take like 3 to 5 days per hair, normally a hair before I arrived was taking 20 to 40 days. The only solution was to hire more hands, to hire more people, and I needed people that would hit the ground running. It had to be people that I knew that could do the work. And in that sense, I presented the proposal to Ian and to CR. They agreed to everything, and that's how we did it. We basically put the guys in. Instead of 70 hair, they agreed to everything, and that's
so kind of like Yogi, just a little bit. I think it's just the hair. I guess it's got to be the hair.
That's how we did it. We basically put the guys in. Instead of 70 hairs, by December we had 130 hairs because we did not only do the Squadron ones, we actually revamped the character customizer. We added beards, which weren't even in the plan back then. It was a bet, a risky bet, but I took the process under my wing. I grabbed the guys, and it worked. So, and for that, I got some praise and got some recognition in the company, which comes with the risk that I've taken.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was on the stage at CitizenCon 2023 presenting what was eventually to come, because at the time we didn't have good hair. I mean, now we're blessed, we're spoiled. Look at all of us with our hair, just like acting like it's always just been a thing. Is this it?
Yeah. You stick around, you're gonna love what we have. Okay.
So he showed off some really interesting stuff here.
And there's also the shader.
About like the technology and how he made the hair for this engine, as opposed to, you know, hair in maybe other engines like the ever powerful and probably to replace Star Engine at some point, Unreal 5.
On the shader side,
so if you want to check out like what actually might make the hair interesting and different and unique compared to maybe other games, or just because you're interested in game dev and want to learn more about what the heck goes into this stuff, it's the least replayed part of this whole segment of CitizenCon 2023, but it's still interesting stuff. And I know most people probably haven't gotten this far into the video, but I think all of this is really worth knowing at the end of the day. I mean, we don't get to see this kind of stuff behind the scenes, and this has really not much effect on our ability to play the game or enjoy it, but it's interesting nonetheless, in my opinion.
So where do we start with the hair? There must be an idea first, an intention, of course. Star Citizen is a bit different from Squadron. In Squadron, we're trying to do digital clones. Obviously, in that case, we're going to take as much pictures, as much references of the real person and try to mimic that into the video game. As for Star Citizen, which is a bit more broad, we sometimes require a concept, sometimes we have a more broader idea that we want to go. We are...
Imagine you're just like going through a bad time with your hair. It's just really dry, or like you got psoriasis or something going on. It's like bad from the season. And that's when they decide to take all the pictures of your head. Like, okay, we're getting this, your dandruff ass hair, we're getting that into the game. That's where you're gonna look.
Production artists, we are not concept artists, so that's not what we do. What we really need to work is that the idea comes solid at us and it's very clear what's intended. Whatever references we can use, we'll make a mood board, and from there, we'll start our own development. It's important to understand that the system that I implemented
got so much funnier when they turn to the side.
here, it kind of removes from the artist the ability to mess it up, in the sense that I control the textures and the shaders, so that means the beginning of the process and the ending of the process. I've tested them, I make sure they work, and so I give to the artist the pleasurable part of just doing the asset itself, and therefore there's no fruit salad. What we want is basically a quality that is standard,
that
stays the same throughout the game, and if I gave them the ability to create their own textures, we would have hairs, some would be very thick, some would be very thin, some would be different, and they would render different. So I removed these two parts of the process of the equation by sorting it myself, giving them only the pleasurable part. I don't have any other word for it. Sounds good.
Sometimes being a little bit of a control freak on the process just means it's all more consistent. I like that.
He's not wrong.
Enjoyable, I guess.
Making hair for games, there's a lot of limitations to it. Our game being fast-paced and all, MMO. The way to keep it performant and the way to keep it working is by trying to establish limits of how far you can go. When I started, I remember the lead tech artist telling me, Andre, there's no limit to what you can do. Just go. You know, there's no budget of try count. There's no budget, and I'm like, how can that be? I mean, I've been doing games for a while, and there is limitations. Okay, he was just letting me be free enough to create, and letting me establish the limit so that they can then adapt. I was very conservative. We all have performant hairs. Some in Squadron 42 are a bit heavier because we just need to hit that quality bar, but mostly are all very performant. What you do is you just use what you need and you don't use what you don't need, basically.
What are you working on for 2025?
2025 comes with creatures and more hairs for the character customizer. That's the main thing. There's also armors that are going to start to have a bit of hair. Hair, not human hair, but you know, types of fur or types of synthetic hair. So we created a lot of hairs which are recognizable. We were trying to break barriers. The character customizer is like this nowadays because we were trying to push the shader and see where we could go. Tools programmers and shader programmers were coming to me and say, hey Andre, I didn't know our shader could do this type of things. And as I got this type of feedback, I was, okay, let's push this and see how far we can go. And so we have a bit of a range which is a bit too wide for now in terms of hairs that we're using. One of the last meetings with CR regarding this aspect, he told me, Andre, what we need now is Jared's hair, is Andre's hair. Move away from the outrageous, move away from the military hairstyles. That's the direction for now, to establish a good solid base of hairs. And on the creatures, we're going a bit wilder now. We're starting to push the limits as to fully covered with fur creatures and stuff like that. Before we started with small patches of fur here and there on the creatures, and now we're just making all things.
Wait, what was I just looking at? I just realized, is this a new animal?
To push the limits.
It's just like a quasi-grazer variant of sorts. Hey, it's got udders though. Interesting. Maybe it's not a quasi-grazer. Maybe it's a different animal altogether. Looks pretty far along though. Well, that's just art.
That's as the fully covered with fur creatures and stuff like that. Before we started with small patches of fur here and there on the creatures, and now we're just making all things together. Well, I'm eager to do hairstyles that will be
Wait,
whole thing.
say that
Before
again.
we started with small patches of fur here and there on the creatures, and now we're just making whole things together.
That's what a lot of these employees are saying. They're talking about how they used to make like a piece of something or one part of something, but now they are making whole things that kind of procedurally recreate the stuff that they used to make. That's what happened with planets. Missions team has kind of talked like that a little bit. UI's talked like that. Now the hair team, I guess. It is, but it does, I think, show more of the company being in this phase of kind of increased productivity. Can we see that? Can we get some of that, please? Hit us up with that. No, they're doing better lately, but features.
Well, I'm eager to do hairstyles that will be longer than the limitation that we currently have. Our current limitation is the shoulders, simply because of the way the armors work and the helmets work, and we don't want it to be clipping all along. So I'm really looking at the day that we can make hairs that are longer, and I'd love to do like a big dreadlock that goes straight down.
How does that work with the helmets,
I'm really,
though?
really proud of my team. Everything that I said.
Dude, the freaking hair, man.
Yeah, so I'm really, really proud of my team. Everything that I said here is basically a teamwork. My team does not involve only the people under me, it also involves the people above that feed me with stuff and that help me get better. The hair story here has been a success, and has been a success because we're working together. That's the only reason. I wouldn't be here talking or doing anything. I wouldn't have been at CitizenCon stage without any of them. So that's very clear to me. We are now through a moment that we can create any hairstyle that we want. And I'm very proud of that.
It's a lot of hair, dude.
And with more than 30 new hairstyles scheduled to make their way
Mustache,
into the
Jared.
persistent universe across each remaining patch this year, the options for self-expression in Star Citizen are just one more way 2025 will continue to deliver more content than ever before. Now, I also want to tell you about this new Squadron 42 Spotlight that's being delivered directly to inboxes right now about every 2 months or so. It comes with timed exclusives, never before seen visuals, audio files, story information, all that kind of stuff included. So don't forget to check your inboxes for that, and then of course opt in through the account settings on the website if you really want that content before everyone else. And then of course for those of you with friends, with friends thinking about trying out Star Citizen, our very first free fly of the year starts today with 6 vehicles to choose from. The universe truly is better with friends, or so I'm told. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. As always, thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week.
Thought he was about to talk about the referrals for a second. Okay. All right. Interesting episode, to be quite honest. In a year when, like, if that had come, this is an interesting dichotomy. If that had happened on a year when we were getting a lot of feature-rich Inside Star Citizens, I'd probably be more bothered. But this year, I feel like there is still a lot of information coming out about things pretty regularly, to the point where I don't feel anxious for ISC to be super impressive. I am, as I showed towards the beginning, still a little disappointed that we haven't gotten like any sprint reports or any feature looks or anything like that. But I do genuinely like what they've done with hair in this game, and I realized, I think more in the last couple of years than ever, how important hair is to people, myself included. For a lot of people, hair is like makeup. Not in the sense that you can remove it or take it off or something, but like it literally will change how people perceive your face depending on how you've cut your facial hair. For a lot of dudes, this is really important. Same goes for head. It's like your hair basically changes the entire way you look. So that it's important in the game like this, an MMO where, yes, I know we are all wearing helmets. Oh, you can't take your helmet off. We have very, very clear proof, both in, the video I just released today, and in many other times Star Citizen, CIG has spoken up that you're not going to be able to wear your helmet everywhere. You're literally going to get turned away from places if you're wearing armor, because it won't be allowed everywhere. So this is important because character models have to matter, and marketing for a game like this also matters. Videos, machinima, virtual photography. Basically, anytime some streamer does something cool and then is able to show off their character looking really good in some environment, that's going to bring in more people. So this thing matters. I don't want to hear that it doesn't, but I understand if it's not the ISC that you particularly liked. Either way, this is a little look into Star Citizen development. Not a super information heavy talk, and I've already talked enough, so I'll leave you with that. But subscribe if you want more news. Come back for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one.